Hi, my name is Fleur-Miss Lubin, and today we will be talking about the postmodernism era. The second half of the 20th century, often referred to as the postmodern period, spans from about 1950 to early 2000s. This era is marked by an explosion of musical diversity, new technologies, and radical shifts in cultural and artistic values. Unlike earlier periods that were largely defined by shared styles or philosophies, postmodern music embraces pluralism, experimentation, and the blurring of genre boundaries. There were many characteristics of the postmodern period music. It incorporated styles from multiple periods and cultures. Artists rejected the grand narrative and took their own route across cultures. The use of pastiche became popular, which is direct quotations or imitations of earlier music, such as Baroque, jazz, or pop, for an artistic effect. Repetition of simple motifs and gradual transformation over time and unconventional ways of producing sound on instruments or voices became popular. The integration of synthesizers, tape loops, computers, and digital sampling started to make electronic and digital music as well. After World War II, society was radically altered by the rise of Cold War and nuclear anxiety, as well as civil rights movements, anti-war protests, and feminism. Post-colonial shifts in world power and increased globalization also affected society, as well as growing influence of mass media and consumer culture. These cultural shifts inspired greater diversity in voices and representation in music. Composers began incorporating non-Western instruments, voices of oppressed people, and political messages. Technological developments made a major impact on the sound and accessibility of music. Magnetic tape enabled editing and manipulation of recorded sound. Synthesizers created entirely new electronic sounds. MIDI was a standardized communication between digital instruments. Digital sampling allowed composers to incorporate real-world and pre-recorded sounds, and computer-based composition made software like Logic and Ableton, which revolutionized how music was composed and performed. These inventions helped birth electroacoustic music, ambient music, techno, and digital classic hybrids. Postmodern music is significantly different from earlier styles. The Middle Ages, also known as the Renaissance, focused on modal harmony, religious function, and limited instrumentation. The Classical era valued order, balance, and clear formal structures. The Romantic era emphasized emotional expression and individualism. Modernism embraced abstraction, atonality, and innovation, often rejecting tradition, whereas postmodern music rejects the idea of a single musical truth or direction. It celebrates diversity, irony, and ambiguity, often mixing high-art pop culture and tradition with experimentation. Some famous composers of this time era include John Cage, who was known for his set of sonatas and interludes and his composition entitled 433. He invented the prepared piano, where various foreign substances were inserted at crucial points in the strings of a grand piano. Cage reshaped the definition of music by challenging traditional expectations. He influenced conceptual art, ambient sound design, and even modern mindfulness through his use of silence and environmental sound. George Crumb was known for Cabalito Negro, one of his most famous pieces, and that was the last of his 3 songs in the second book of his madrigals. He was also known for graphic notation. He created haunting, poetic works He created haunting, poetic works using extended techniques like whispering, tapping strings, etc. His most famous pieces are Black Angels and Ancient Voices of Children. His eerie, spiritual soundscapes remain popular with modern chamber ensembles. Leonard Bernstein was a composer, conductor, educator, pianist, and television personality. As a composer, Bernstein straddled the world with serious and popular music. He explored his Jewish background in his Third Symphony, Kaddish, but he was rooted in tonality, shown in his choral masterwork, Chichester Psalms. He also created theater music like On the Town, Wonderful Town, and West Side Story. Steve Reich was a key figure in minimalism and is famous for phasing, two identical loops that slowly fall out of sync, creating evolving rhythms and harmonies. Important works include music for 18 musicians and different trains. Reich's ideas differently influence electronic music, techno, and film composers, and his scripts and his looping structures can be heard in artists like Aphex Twin and Radiohead. He was most influenced in his early musical thinking by hearing Stravinsky's Rite of Spring and the music of Bach as a 14-year-old. He also worked with several pioneers of music, especially Terry Riley and Philip Glass. He also spent years studying Ewe drums in West Africa, and he soaked up other influence from Balinese Gamaliel ensembles and his Judaism religion. Philip Glass popularized minimalism with operas like Einstein on the Beach and film scores. He is known for repetitive, pulsating patterns that create He is known for repetitive, pulsating patterns that create hypnotic, emotional soundscapes. His key works include Einstein on the Beach, Glassworks, Scores for the Hours, and Notes on a Scandal. Glass's music appears in films, ballet, theater, and video games. He helps bridge the gap between classical music and popular culture, and he's widely regarded as one of the most influential American composers alive. Other composers who were just before the postmodernism period but still had a great influence include Laurie Anderson, who blended performance art, storytelling, and electronic music. Anderson's fusion of technology and storytelling continues to inspire video artists, spoken word performers, and digital musicians. Brian Eno was an innovator in ambient music and music production. His influence is felt in pop, film scores, and experimental designs. His ideas laid the groundwork for EDM, lo-fi, and sound therapy. Wendy Carlos pioneered synthesizer use in classical music with Switched on Bach. Carlos helped legitimize electronic music as a serious art. Postmodern era is still relevant today because of sampling, looping, and digital synthesis are now fundamental to hip-hop, EDM, pop, and film scoring. And they were central to the postmodern music era. Composers like Philip Glass reached audiences far beyond the classical scope by contributing music to films like The Hours and Koyaanisqatsi, inspiring artists like David Bowie. John Cage's ideas have had profound influence on experimental and performance art, sound installations, and conceptual art, and minimalism is still hugely influential in today's music, appearing in everything from TV soundtracks to concert halls. Other events that still hold relevance today would be Leonard Bernstein's open West Side Story in Broadway in 1957. John Williams writes score for the first Star Wars movie in 1977. And Apple introduces the iPhone in 2007, and Barack Obama was elected the first African American president in 2008. Personally, I enjoy the postmodern era because it is filled with diversity and experimentation. People who enjoy the postmodern era usually are those who value complexity, challenge norms, enjoy diverse and mixed styles, and like questioning mainstream narratives. If this musical rebel sounds like you, take a trip down the postmodern era and enjoy the ride.